Good afternoon and welcome to our Cabinet member on the 11th of December 2024, soon to be 2025, I'm sure. Okay, agenda item 1, appointment of chair. I'm Councillor Steve Hunt, leader of Neath Talbot Council, and I'll be chairing today's meeting of Cabinet. Agenda item 2, chair's announcement. So can I welcome members of the public or press viewing this meeting? Can I ask you to please ensure your microphones are switched off? You are here to observe the meeting only. Members and officers, can I ask you to please ensure that your phones are switched to silent for the duration of the meeting and that your microphones are switched to mute unless you are speaking. In addition, when asked to raise your hand, if members who are virtually attending the meeting could raise your electronic hands, and for those of you in the chamber, raise your physical hands. I'll come to you in turn. Officers, can I also ask you to please ensure to verbally add any additional comments from scrutiny committees if this has not already been included within your reports. So I move on to agenda item 3, which is declarations of interest. Can I just ask, are there any declarations of interest from members? Please would members say what the items are and what the interest is. And then I'll ask Tammy to forward you an electronic version of the form for you to complete and email back to her. So can I ask for any declarations of interest?
Thank you, Chair. It's item 14, election of local governors.
Thank you. Anybody else, members? Okay, then I got declaration of interest on agenda item 14, and I will leave at that point, and Nalin, the deputy leader, will take that agenda item as I mentioned in the governing body there. Okay, if I move on to agenda item 4, the forward work programme for 24-25. The forward work programme is on pages 5 to 8 and is here for noting. If I move on to agenda item 5, public question times, I have received no notification from the public to speak at today's meeting. Agenda item 6 is the rights of way footpath number 127 in the community of Carmarthen. The report is on page 9 to 22 and is here for a decision. So I now ask Neil Chappell if he has anything further to add on this agenda item. Please, Neil.
Chair, I'll do a brief introduction, if that's okay. So agenda item 6 is to divert part of footpath 127 in the community of Carmarthen. Members, if you refer to the plan, you'll see that the existing rights of way runs from point A on Hale Jubilee to point B on Hale Cruise. That line runs through an existing housing development, and as part of the planning permission, they're going to be building a new development there. The proposal is that the existing rights of way is diverted to allow that development to progress, and it's going to be diverted to points C to D shown on the plan. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Neil. Can I ask members if they have any questions on this agenda item? Don't see any. I now refer members to the recommendations on page 14 of your agenda pack. I will propose this agenda item. Can I have a seconder, please?
Happy to see you look at it then.
Thank you, Alan. Any abstentions from members? No. Members, if you do not indicate to the contrary by raising your hand, I will assume that you're in favour of the recommendations.
Leader, so those recommendations have been approved.
Thank you, Tammy. Agenda item 7 is rights of way footpath number 2 in the community of Port Talbot. The report is on pages 23 to 38 and is here for a decision. So I'll hand back to Neil Chappell to see if he has anything further to add on this agenda item.
Thank you, Chair. So agenda item 7 is an application to divert part of footpath 2 in the community of Port Talbot. This is made in accordance with the Highways Act 1980. Members will note from the attached report, the plan of the report, that the existing path follows along the hillside and exits at a working farmyard. The proposal is that we divert it away from the farmyard through points A to K, which is along a series of steps that was installed by the council some years ago. From there, you would follow byway 1 to return to the start. The grounds are set out in the report, and they have been satisfied.
Thank you once more, Neil. Can I just ask members if they have any questions on this agenda item? Again, I don't see any. I now refer members to the recommendation on page 28 of your agenda pack. I'll propose this agenda item. Can I have a seconder, please?
Hapus i eilio cadeirydd.
Thank you, Alan. Any abstentions? Again, I don't see any. Members, if you do not indicate to the contrary by raising your hand, I will assume that you're in favour of the recommendations.
Indications to the contrary, Chair, so those recommendations have been approved.
Thank you once more, Tammy. Agenda item 8 is Community Council's minor project scheme applications from Clyne and Mellingcourt Community Council. The report is on page 39 to 44 and is here for a decision. I now ask Hugh Jones if he has anything further to add to this agenda item.
Thank you, Chair. Diolch, Cadeirydd. So this is an application to the Town and Community Council Minor Projects Grant Scheme from Clyne and Mellingcourt Community Council. They are seeking grant assistance towards a £45,000 project to upgrade Bryn Golwg play area in the village of Clyne. Under the scheme, they're entitled to support of up to 70% of the cost, up to a maximum of £14,000. I'm happy that the application meets the criteria, so happy to recommend to Cabinet. Diolch. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hugh. Members, do you have any questions, please? I don't see any. I now refer members to the recommendations on page 43 of your agenda pack. I will propose this agenda item. Can I have a seconder, please?
Hapus i eilio cadeirydd.
Thank you, Alan. Any abstentions? Again, I don't see any. Members, if you do not indicate to the contrary by raising your hand, I will assume that you are in favour of the recommendations.
To the contrary, Chair, so those recommendations have been approved.
Thank you, Tammy. I now move on to agenda item 9, which is the Corporate Plan 2024 to 2027. It's the half-yearly update for 2024-2025. The report is on pages 45 to 102 and is here for monitoring. I now will hand over to Noelwyn Daniels to see if he has anything further to add. Noelwyn, please.
Diolch, Cadeirydd. Just briefly, members will be aware that the Council approved a revised corporate plan back in the summer for 24 through to 27. What you have before you is the half-year report in terms of where we are during 24-25. Articulated within the corporate plan were a series of 3-year aims aligned against each one of the wellbeing objectives, together with a suite of strategic priorities. So the update you have is where directors believe they are at the moment in terms of delivering against those 3-year aims and those 3-year strategic priorities. The report has been to 3 of the scrutiny committees so far. The remaining one is on Thursday afternoon with Social Services, Housing and Community Safety. A number of valid comments and observations have been raised at all 3 scrutinies to date, reflecting our need to look at the metrics used in terms of the performance measures, and we will take those comments on board, Chair. Diolch.
Thank you, Noelwyn. Before I see if there's any questions from members, I would just like to say that the report presented to Cabinet today provides a summary of the progress made during April and September 2024 on the delivery of the corporate plan and the 4 wellbeing objectives. We are in the main on track with our strategic priorities and performance measures to meet and deliver by 2027. What we have achieved to date is an accomplishment that both officers and members should be proud of, and we will continue to work hard through the course of the year to deliver on our transformation programmes. This performance summary has been taken to 3 of the 4 scrutiny committees, as Noelwyn has mentioned, and officers have noted comments to ensure we are receiving a balanced update of performance which is clear and concise going forward. A number of our strategies and action plans approved during 2023-2024 are being implemented, and capital projects funded through the previous government's Levelling Up Fund are gathering momentum. I will now conclude by an introduction by asking members to consider any questions or feedback that they may have on the performance summary. So I want to come in first, so I want to see if there's any Cabinet members want to make any further comments, please. Thank you. Councillor Llewellyn, please.
Yeah, diolch Cadeirydd. It's not any specific questions on the report, but I am pleased that it's going to the different scrutiny committees. I know I'll be present at tomorrow's Social Services, Housing and Community Safety Scrutiny Committee, and I'm sure that that there'll be a number of questions and comments, and hopefully helpful pointers given to us there as well. I always feel the title corporate plan. I know we have to call it a corporate plan. It's a requirement on us, but it's an unlovely title. It doesn't engender perhaps that much interest, but of course the title that we also give it is working towards a more prosperous, fairer and greener Neath Talbot, and I think that is the key to the vision that we've incorporated in the plan. We know about the financial and operational pressures that are on us as an authority, and that affects all departments. But I think it's important that we have a plan which is both realistic but also principled and visionary, and I think that's what we try to achieve with this document this year. And I think one of the key aspects in the preparation of this new plan has been the involvement of all our departments and heads of services and their input at an early stage. So it's very much a working document. It does hold us to account, obviously, and it's a public document, and I hope there will be some interest in it. But it is very much a working document rather than something which sits on the shelf for the next few years, and I think that's reflected in the review that's in front of us. And what are being noted as the next steps that we need to take in each of the subject areas and the wellbeing objectives. So it's just to thank everybody for their input and their work into this project, and I'm sure that we'll be taking on board all the points that are being raised in scrutiny as well.
Thank you, Alan. I'm not sure if there's a question in there, Noelwyn, but did you want to respond? Okay, any further questions? Councillor Neath Jenkins then, please.
Thank you, Chair. Having had education scrutiny last week, this was very well accepted there, and I think it's important just to give credit really to the developments and advances we've made, especially in Flying Start for the best start in life, which it will soon be expanding in Neath Talbot, and the work that we've done with the curriculum for Wales so far and the leadership programmes within our schools for our teachers and managers. And I think it's only fair to thank everybody for the hard work that they've done. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Nia. Anybody else? No? Obviously, I agree with Alan on here, and this document is a developing document, it's fair to say as well. So thank you very much for your questions and your comments. And this report is for noting, of course, it's a monitoring report. Thank you. Agenda item 10 is the CIW Foster Wales Neath Talbot Inspection Report for 2024. The report is on pages 103 to 118 and is here for noting. But I now will ask Kerry Warren, unless Andrew wants to introduce Kerry, but otherwise I'll go straight to Kerry Warren to see if she has anything further to add. Kerry, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, I'd like to introduce Vic Smith, actually, who leads on Looked After Children and played the lead role in this fostering inspection with a whole team around her. It's I hope you've had an opportunity to read it. It is a very good report, and we were very pleased with the recommendations. But I'll introduce Vic now to come in and tell you a little bit more.
Good afternoon, thank you. Yeah, really pleased we've not been inspected for some considerable time, and certainly not for a long time before COVID. And they are now picking up and doing inspections across Wales, and we were one of the first. It's a really positive report, as Kerry said. The team have worked really hard. We give a really good service to our children and young people that we look after. There were no action points or no non-compliance, which is excellent and has really given the team a boost. It's a really exciting time for us in fostering when we are really focusing on recruitment and are having inquiries far more frequently than what we've had in recent years. It's really positive, and obviously by having a really positive inspection as well goes some way to encourage people to foster for their local authority as well. The points that were raised, I think, are tweaks that we can make going forward. As I said, we've not had an inspection for a very long time, and what it's given us in the local authority is a baseline to work from. We consult with children and young people all of the time. We have Darren Bartley, for those of you who sit on corporate parenting panel with me, and meet Darren quite frequently. And I think what we need to do is just tie that up a little bit neater, really, and make sure that we act on feedback from children and young people and from foster carers all of the time. But I think we need to evidence that more going forward. So I've certainly got things to take back going forward in my quality of care report when I review the service on a 6-monthly basis in my role as responsible individual, just really making sure that we tie all that in together. And we've also have a group of young people who very helpfully point out things that they think work really well, or areas that we can improve on. And Kerry and I have been discussing about how they are far more involved with our training for our staff and also for our fostering panel. So I think there's lots of exciting things to come out of that, and lots of reflection. But on the whole, I'm really, really pleased with the outcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, both. It is an excellent report, as you quite rightly said, Kerry, and I'm sure everybody will have read this because it's such an important report as well. So congratulations and well done to everybody involved, because at the end of the day, it's this well-being of young children, etc. Brilliant work. I'll see if there's questions now from members. Sian, please.
My question, Vic, is answered really, because I was going to say I was actually sitting in a foster panel where the inspection was taking place, and it was quite hyper with because the girls were really, really nervous, but they did an amazing job, and they had a really good inspection. But Vic has just answered my question, because I was going to say how we chat with young people all the time. How are we going to make sure that what they say is actually taken into consideration? So, but Vic, you've just said that, haven't you? So that's fine.
Thanks, Sian. Anybody else? Any other member? No, I don't see anybody. Okay, as I said, this report now is for noting, so we will note the report. Shall I move on to agenda item 11? 11. Neath Talbot Council Children and Young People's Services Placement Commissioning Strategy 2024-2027. The report's on pages 119 to 184 and is also here for a decision. So I'll go back to Kerry once more to see if she has anything further to add to this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. And that's just to introduce two officers, Vic Smith again. She earns her crest in Neath for Talbot. And Gemma Hargis, our commissioning officer, who will be able to give a very quick overview of the report, and we are available to answer questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Kerry. So in terms of the report, it is directly aligned to our strategic priorities and our statutory duties in order to ensure we got placement sufficiency, so to ensure we got placements where needed for our children and young people who are looked after. I'm happy to take any questions and feedback, Chair.
Thank you for the updates, both. I'll see now if there's any questions from members on this report. I don't see any. Oh, there's a hand up online, is there? Oh, Victoria.
Sorry,
Smith,
can I just add? Can I just add as well that this report has already been to scrutiny, and there was feedback given in scrutiny about some further wording to be added. So we've taken that on board and we've updated the strategy following scrutiny.
Oh, thank you, and that is quite important. So thanks for coming in on that. Listening to scrutiny as well, and making sure you get the reports right. So thank you. Just check one more time then, see if any further questions from members. Don't see any. Okay, I now refer members to the recommendation on page 122 of your agenda pack. I'll propose this agenda item. Could I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Alan. Members, if you do not indicate to the contrary by raising your hand, I will assume that you're in favour of the recommendations.
I see no indications to the contrary, Chair, so those recommendations have been approved.
Thank you very much. Agenda item 12 is the Arboricultural Management Plan. The report's on pages 185 to 218 and is here for a decision. I believe James Davis is taking this report, so I'll see if James has anything further to add on this report. James?
Thank you, Chair. Obviously very topical after the weekend. So members may be aware that we brought an arboriculture management plan before you in 2021, and that was basically a plan to set out and provide guidance on how the council will manage trees on council-owned land and on adjacent private land. This is an updated plan, which also includes an updated basically proactive inspection regime about how we will proactively inspect our trees. So that's the key change. There are some minor changes around which has changed with updated legislation, but the biggest change to the whole plan is the inspection policy element of it, which is included in Appendix A. I think the only other point to note as well, Chair, is that it's going to probably take us around 12 months until we fully sort of compatible with the inspection plan, but we've got in-year capital funding to achieve that.
Thanks for that update, James. Can I see if there's any questions from members? Wyndham, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, James. I appreciate officers have updated the policy to include both reactive and proactive works to trees by the council, and this is very much appreciated. I am aware that as members, we often receive concerns from constituents relating to trees affecting television reception, and therefore request to remove or undertake significant works to lop these trees. Can you, James, please advise the council on position in relation to this matter? What does the team do with this? Thank you.
Come back, James.
Yeah, of course, thanks, Chair. So within the actual plan itself, there is a section on interference with satellite and TV reception. What it actually states is there's no legal requirement to prune or fell healthy trees to provide an improved satellite TV reception. The council will not carry out arboriculture works to trees where there is a claim of trees affecting such reception. I think what we do is on each occasion we do assess just to make sure that the tree is actually healthy. But then that's the response we tend to go back with, obviously due to resources, and we're not in the business of cutting down healthy trees.
Okay, Wyndham. Come back. Or...
Yes, please,
yeah,
Chair.
Go on.
It's just I'd like to take this chance, an opportunity, to thank the team for all the hard work they did over the weekend, and I know they worked extremely hard and all that bad weather, and I'm sure all of the cabinet would like to congratulate you and thank you. And if you would take that back to the team, please.
Thank you very much, Wyndham. Anybody else? Any further questions? I don't see any. Oh, sorry, Councillor Llewellyn. Sorry, Alan.
Sorry, yes, I just wanted to support exactly what Wyndham said there about the thanks to, the teams who were out all over the weekend and the last few days, helping to keep our areas safe, helping to keep roads clear, and being extremely responsive, I think, for more or less 24 hours a day across the weekend. And I think it does show, the importance that we have the resources in local government when emergencies arise, when we have to respond to these situations, that we're there, that our teams are answering the phones, taking the calls, and ensuring responses as quickly as possible. I think, James, one of the key importance of this report is the increased emphasis as well on proactive work, because obviously if we are able to identify areas where trees are unsafe, either because of ground conditions or, as in case of ash dieback, because of diseases affecting trees and so on, then obviously we're able to intervene at an earlier stage, and hopefully, we can't predict everything that will happen with the increased number of bad weather incidents, but at least we are able to try and mitigate as far as possible any known hazards well in advance. So will we be receiving sort of further reports on the progress of the management plan as that proactive work goes ahead?
Thank you, Alan. James?
There was no plan to bring any further report back through obviously through scrutiny and through cabinet. But we can do if that's something that obviously you're interested in, and we can come back maybe in 12 months' time to give you a position statement on on what we've achieved and where we are.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful if if colleagues agree, and if we don't want to add to the team's workload, but I think it would help us in being able to gauge and support that work.
Thank you, Alan. Nicola, did you want to make a comment?
No, it was a new policy. Obviously, we've previously undertaken sort of reactive maintenance of the trees on our land, and we have responded when we've had complaints about trees on our land affecting third-party property if it's justified. And as James has indicated, we are more than happy to give you an update on what proactive work we've undertaken over the 12-month period and whether we've come across any challenges which we may need to take account of going forward, and any variations that we need to undertake of that policy. So I'm more than happy to agree to that, Leader.
Thank you, Nicola. All right, Alan? Yeah, James, for me as well, I just want to echo some of the comments Alan made. I mean, you weren't just out in conditions that potentially, and I will say this, we've got a duty of care to our staff, and when the weather is extreme, then it's not for us to, and I know our chief exec agrees that we've got to make sure that they are well protected, that and get the communities to understand the consequences of the work we do. But in this instance, they were out. They did clear the roads for emergency services and other commuters. So take that back to the teams. Excellent job. And that's all I've had. And this must be the first through social media, is all positivity. We haven't seen any negativity towards our council workers and staff. So I think that must be a first as well. So, but congratulations, and make sure they valued by us, because we certainly do value their efforts. But let them know for us as well. Thank you. Okay, now. Oh, sorry. Oh, Scott. Sorry, Scott. I didn't see your hand. Scott,
no,
over to you.
It's okay. It's only a quick point, just to endorse what yourself and the Deputy Leader has said. I've had this conversation with our Head of Service, Mike Roberts, earlier today, and it's fair to say that our Environment Directorate has been absolutely outstanding in dealing with the severe issues across the county. I'm really proud to be the cabinet member of that particular section, but I think it's fair to say as well, it isn't just the Environment Directorate responding to these adverse weather conditions. Social services has been outstanding, and we're a very proud council, I think, to be meeting the needs of our most vulnerable communities very, very quickly. So I'm quite satisfied that this report, Leader, has gone through the various scrutiny processes. So I'm happy to commend this report this afternoon to Cabinet.
Thank you very much, Scott. Okay, any further questions, observations? Don't see any. I will now refer members to the recommendation on pages 190 to 191 of your agenda pack. I'll propose this agenda item. So could I now have a seconder, please?
Happy to see how you look at it.
Thank you, Alan. Any abstentions from members? Don't see any. Members, if you do not indicate to the contrary, but by raising your hand, I will assume that you're in favour of the recommendations.
No indications to the contrary, Leader, so those recommendations have been approved.
Thank you very much, Tammy. Agenda item 13 is the Local Flood Risk Management Strategy and Plan, the LFRMSP, which is obviously the Local Flood Risk Management Strategy Plan. The report is on pages 219, 824, and is here for a decision. So I believe Richard Coleman is taking this agenda item. So can I ask Richard if he has anything further to add?
Oh, it's me. It is, Steve. I'm going to do that on behalf of...
I didn't see you there, Steve. Sorry.
No problem.
Over to you then, Steve.
Yeah, prynawn da, everybody. Good afternoon. This is a draft local flood risk management strategy. It outlines how Neath for Talbot will address flood risks within the county. And the plan is designed as a working document, not just something that sits on the shelf. It focuses on our key main objectives, which are surface water, ordinary water courses and groundwater flooding. And our goal as a section is to mitigate flood risk to the communities and businesses and improving resilience within our community. Our other objectives is to inform residents of the risks and responsibilities, is to prioritise flood risk mitigation efforts, enhance community safety and resilience, ensure the Neath Talbot remains an attractive place to live. Our challenges, as you probably are aware, increase the frequency and intensity of storms that we're all seeing and experiencing of late. And recent events and significant flood have affected over 300 properties in the last few years. It's so important that we have some collaboration with our partners and agencies and take on board issues from the general public. That's the next stage. If this is approved today, we will be in far further correspondence with the public and our agencies. I would also like to take the opportunity to thank our team. I think that Richard Coleman has done a fabulous job with this, and everybody else who works in the drainage section has pitched in as well. And I hope that today's plan is approved by you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Steve. Now go to members to see if they have any questions for Steve Owen. Councillor Llewellyn, please.
Yeah, diolch yn fawr, Steve, am y cyflwyniad. Thanks for the introduction. And you know, it is coincidence, but a timely coincidence that both the arboricultural, I can say that we'll probably arboricultural plan and the flood risk management strategy are before us this week, given the effects of the extreme weather over the last almost week, and obviously the management of flood risks is increasingly challenging. There are no easy solutions to the impact, partly due to climate change and so on, of the increasing frequency of flood problems. Now, I know that there have been some very good examples of physical works. I can point to one. I keep my fingers crossed when I say this, in my own ward, and that has protected houses that have previously flooded. But there are tremendous pressures on us in obtaining the capital and revenue funding that's needed to provide and maintain those physical flood prevention measures. So I think it's very important that this report, that we make people as aware as possible of this report. As Steve said, it's not something for sitting on the shelf. I think we need for people to engage as much as possible in the consultation, so that we gather information and knowledge and feedback, but also that people are more aware of landowner responsibilities, practical measures that people can take with the support of ourselves and other agencies. This is, I think, is going to be an increasingly important topic. So I hope that there'll be considerable public interest in the plan when it goes to consultation. I wonder if Steve or colleagues could just recap for us what the consultation arrangements will be, so that as members we can also play a part in raising awareness that this document will be in the public domain.
Thanks, Alan. I don't know if Steve got the answers to the consultation period, and I know Mike Roberts is on the call anyway, so I'll go back to you first, Steve, to address some of Alan Llewellyn's points. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll be making people aware through sending the reports to obviously the agencies that are out there. I would include the NRW, Welsh Water, etc. So they would all have an input. They'll have the document. They're able to go through it and comment on it. When it comes to the general public, it'll be published on our webpage, and residents will obviously we will advertise that so residents are able to come in and give comments as necessary.
Thank you, Steve. All right. Do you want to come back, Alan?
Yeah, no, thanks for that, Steve. And just as we did, in the previous item, I'm sure Steve and colleagues will feed back to, all the frontline teams who, again, were out all over the weekend at the beginning of this week and responding to, flooding incidents, block gullies, and, all of the other challenges that people faced over the weekend. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Alan. Any other member? Any questions? Don't see any. Steve, it was interesting to watch the sharp end this week with regards to the coal tips. And the Deputy First Minister, Hugh Davis, was on there. And the communities themselves were on point of Alan's making about public interest. There's certainly public interest because the culverts were brought up as well. And a huge debate on culverts. And we know the issues we have in either upgrading them or keeping them clean. So there's a lot of work to be going forward with for flooding. And as quite rightly been said, our seasons where through climate change are getting wetter, and we're seeing a lot more occurrences of this type of thing. So thank you very much for the report, and I think it's quite an important one to note. So I'll see no further questions from members. So I now refer members to the recommendation on pages 224 of your agenda pack. I'll propose the agenda item. Can I have a seconder, please?
Happy to see you look at it.
Okay, members, any abstentions? Don't see any. Members, if you don't indicate to the contrary by raising your hand, I will assume that you're in favour of the recommendations.
No indications to the contrary, Chair, so those recommendations have been approved.
Thank you, Tammy. So agenda item 14 is the appointment of local authority governors' representations. I will now declare an interest and leave the room for this agenda item, and I'll hand over to Councillor Llewellyn to take this agenda item. Thank you.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr. And I will just double check with Craig something I asked in a previous briefing. There is reference to a school where I'm a governor, but the item is not about me being appointed as a governor, so I don't think I need to declare.
No, that's absolutely fine, Councillor Hwag, and I don't need to record any interest for that specific item, but thank you for raising it anyway.
There we are. Diolch yn fawr. Thanks very much. So the report is on pages 825 to 845 and is here for decision. Mr. John Burge is with us this afternoon to give us any advice. John, do you have anything further to add?
Thank you, Councillor Llewellyn. I'll be led by members whether you want me to take you through individual applications. You have in the past sometimes done that, and I've given you some background. Other times you've allowed me just to simply tell you applications have been made that are correct, and we've received two references from everybody. I'll be led by you how you want to proceed this afternoon.
Sorry, I think specifically, John, there is an item regarding Creenat Primary School where you need to update us with some information. But other than that, if colleagues are happy, we know that that due diligence has been undertaken before the report comes to us. So unless there are any particular issues or concerns, are we happy to take the report as it is, but with the further information that we need in relation to Creenat?
Yeah, there you go. We'll do that then. Thank you for that. So we will take it as the recommendations provided are all fine. References have been received. As I said, we will undertake DBS checks on the governors appointed, particularly on Creenat, as you mentioned. There is news there from the report. Since the report was written, Mr. John Warman, former Councillor John Warman, has now resigned his position as a local authority member, but has been appointed in the category of community minor authority governor at the school. So he's moved categories, if you like. That's now freed up a second local authority position. So where we were originally asking you to make a decision of whether you should appoint Councillor Jeremy Hurley or Mrs Melanie Moore, there are now two positions, and the recommendation to members is to appoint both of them, because we have undertaken applications and references on both.
Yeah, thanks for that update, John. Could you give us, obviously we know Councillor Jeremy Hurley's name and he has left the room for this, but what was the second name that you mentioned?
Melanie Moore, name his.
Right.
You want some more information about Miss Moore?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
You know, it was only I didn't quite catch the name. You know, so there we are. Well, thanks for that update. Are there any questions for members or any comments? Oh, there we are. Oh, Councillor Wyndham, go first.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the right time to bring it in, but I was going to bring it in. Are you finding at this moment that it's harder to get governors for schools because of I'm a governor of two schools, and since I've been the governor there's lots and lots of more work being put on governors. They're asked to do more things like go back into schools and what have you. Are you finding it more difficult in getting people to come forward when they know of all the extra work they've got to do then?
There's been a lot of changes to legislation over the last couple of years with ALNet or with the curriculum changes. But we've struggled with appointing quality governors for a long period of time. And I don't find any more challenges now in 2024, 23-24 than we've had for the last 5-10 years. We've always struggled to get governors. I don't think, since I've been doing the job, I don't think I can ever say that we've had a full complement of governors in every school. Local authority governors, those are the ones we appoint. There's always been vacancies. But if you just look at the summary sheet is 3/4 of an A4 sheet of paper today. At the moment in time, that's pretty good. I've been here in the past and I've had 2 pages of positions that are vacant, you know. So at the moment, we're doing all right. There are vacancies there. We work hard. We're in the middle of putting together a campaign that we will go out and we'll use our press colleagues in the media department to promote the work of governors. And I know that we're having conversations with Councillor Rahman, for example, about increasing diversity and inclusion of governing bodies. So that's a piece of work that we're undertaking early in the spring term next year. But as of now, I'm not finding challenges in particular to your question. That makes sense. Any more than normal.
Okay, thanks very much. I'll do.
Yeah, Councillor Leo Jenkins.
Thank you. I'd just like to go on record, really. I'm a governor in one school and I agree with Councillor Griffiths. It is a responsibility that we take on, and I'd just like to put on record our thanks as a local authority for the work the governors do, because they are all volunteers. It's quite an onerous place to, you know, decisions to make at times as well, but I know we've got outstanding training within Neath Talbot for our governors, and our officers work very hard on that, so thank you very much.
Thank you for that. And I agree, by the way, while I was answering your question regarding recruitment difficulties, I do agree with you that the workload put on governors at the moment is quite extreme in cases, and where everything goes well and smooth, everything is fine, but then there are HR issues, finance issues, and everything else that comes out with the legislation changes for schools. And yeah, the workload is at probably an all-time high.
Just come back there. I sit when you're there and you're sitting in the governors, and all of a sudden you got some new governors there, and the head then at the AGM says, "Well, this is what we've got to do. Safety officer, this, that." You can see the changes in people's faces. I'm thinking, I don't know if I sign up for all this, you know. And then they whittle away, you know, and that's what I find. You know, it's hard for people, isn't it?
There we are. Diolch yn fawr. Thanks very much. And yes, I think just repeat the thanks really to everybody that's been willing to undertake these very onerous responsibilities. Hopefully, they're valuable responsibilities as well. I know governors do have a lot of, valuable and I mean, at this time of the year, I've been attending some Christmas celebrations and concerts, and it does show the the worth of all the work that's being undertaken with the schools, the pupils and the staff. And I'm pleased, as it happens this afternoon, that in the case of Neath, we are actually not short of governor applications, and we've been able to appoint an additional one. So I now refer members to the recommendations on page 827 of the agenda pack. I propose, and if I could have a seconder, please.
Happy to second, Chair.
Any abstentions? Don't think so. Members, if you do not indicate... Oh, sorry.
That's okay, Chair. I was just going to leave you go through that then, and just bring your attention to the Crinacht alterations to the recommendations. So it's 2 posts, and you're filling both of them. Okay, you're all agreeing to that if you agree to the recommendations. Okay, thanks all. Thank you, Chair.
No,
Carry on.
thanks for that, Tammy. And yes, I think we're all happy to agree with that. So, members, if you do not indicate to the contrary by raising your hand, I would assume that you are in favour of the recommendations with the additional information, and Tammy will confirm the outcome.
Yes, no indications to the contrary, Chair. So including the Crinacht recommendations, that's been approved.
Diolch yn fawr. Thanks very much, and the leader can resume his rightful place.
Okay then, thank you very much, Alan, for that agenda item. If I move back to our agenda then, agenda item 15 are urgent items. There are no urgent items this afternoon. So agenda item 16 is access to meetings. So the access to meetings report is on pages 847 to 852 of your report packs. So I now resolve to exclude the public for the following items in pursuit of regulations 4 in brackets 3 and 5 of your statutory instrument 2001 number 2290 and the relevant paragraphs of part 4 of your schedule 12A to the Local Government Act 1972. I will propose that we now move into a private session. Could I have a seconder, please?
Happy to see you.
Thank you, Alan. Any abstentions? Don't see any. Members, if you do not indicate to the contrary by raising your hand, I will assume that you are in favour of moving into private.
No indications to the contrary, Chair. So just to confirm, the recording is stopping.